Hey guys, week 7, and this week's gonna be a very busy week. If everything goes well, I will be able to fit the decks, the mid seats, and make a small mod to make this boat really unsinkable. I know some people say nothing is unsinkable, but I think I can make a small mod on this boat that, unless it turns into a sieve and then it's no longer a boat, this will not sink. So stay tuned. I have a bunch of small parts here ready to go. These are just butt straps. This will be the unsinkable trick, if you can call it that. And this is just the rudder. I started it, I just coated the inside of the rudder. Nothing much, just cut to size. It's not even trimmed yet, as you can see. Still need to trim this, but since I was coating stuff, might as well just do these. And the spacer. So that is the rudder box. I will not make this week, but at least it's coated and ready to go when I want to. And this just came on the mail. This is the glass for the bottom, because I could not get 6mm plywood, so I'm gonna have to glass it. I haven't opened it yet, so let's take a look. Okay, I had to order this online because I could not get 80 gram or 70 gram or anything under 125 gram for the bottom. It would be okay, I guess, but since I'm going for lightweight, I decided to go 80 gram. Okay, so that's 80 gram. And this cost me, with shipping, around 45, 46 euros. I'll have to double check. The first thing I'm going to glue in place, it's the mid seat. It will go something like this. I have already cleaned the gluing surfaces here, 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 and of course the center part that never got epoxy in the first place. This one here, it's sanded as well. But before this can go in place, I need to clean these surfaces as well. I don't need to do anything else there on the side panels because this has been sanded already. Okay, so that's more or less done. Now I hope you can see this on camera. This is not straight, obviously. So when you get your seat there, there's a good chance that this corner is not at the same height as that one. Or if you press a bit too much here on this side, look what happens to the other corner. So we're going to try to figure out the exact height here on the seat and make it equal on both sides. 9.6 here, 9.4 here. That's a couple of millimeters only. Before I glue the seat, I'm going to clean the tops here so I can put the decks later on. For that I need to check that these are all leveled, and see here, touching, 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 that's okay. Same. So they should be pretty much even. So I will just clean them. If you find in your boat that you have some areas where the panels are not that straight and this will not, it will touch here but not there, well, you can try to sand a bit more, but remember to check for a nice even line afterwards. I'm gonna try to pry open this just slightly, like that. Okay, nice squeezing out there and there. Not enough on this side. Yes. 9.6. 9.6. That's spot on. Now all I want to do is press this a bit further against the seat. For that I'm going to need some wedges in the tanks. Okay, you can avoid all this if you just are willing to pre-drill the seat, put a few screws in along that edge, along the center case. Here, well, here I don't actually have a better idea. I guess if you have a 90-degree angle screwdriver or drill head, whatever they call, you can put screws here as well to the seat. If you decide to go with screws, always pre-drill before you screw in, otherwise you might crack this. Next. Okay, and now the only modification I'm going to make to this design that's actually adding weight, not removing, and that is making this boat even safer. This has already over 1,000 pounds of built-in flotation in these two tanks. I will now put a fillet here and make this half watertight as well as this other half separate half. And that's the mod I think will make this boat unsinkable, within reason of course. If you're run by a motorboat or a tanker, you'll probably gonna sink because the boat will be in a million pieces and so will you. So short of smashing the boat into pieces and maybe making 6 strategically placed holes, even fish might be that smart, I don't know, but I believe you will not sink the boat. You probably won't be able to sail the boat if you make 3 or 4 holes here, but you will still have about 150 liters of flotation in just the one chamber, meaning you will not sail your boat, but this will not sink. Okay, you can just hold on to it. Another advantage of this being here is I can put a hatch here and my stuff won't go all the way to the front and to the back. I will keep it contained here. Okay, so now I need to do some filleting, but before I do that I'm going to grab some super glue and I'm going to glue it to hold it in place while I do the fillets. I've made small fillets on both sides. Of course you don't have to do any of this. This is a mod that I decided to make. The boat is very safe already, as you saw in the comparison with other skiffs. It's very safe. You'd have to make 2 or 3 holes to sink the boat, and they would have to be placed strategically still. This mod adds about 425 grams to the build. That's the plates and the fillets on both sides. If you decide to do this mod, there's a couple of things you have to take in consideration. First, you need to clamp these panels at the exact same distance as you have at the bow and at the transom. And that's of course assuming that you have the same distance at the transom and at the bow, okay? Because you want this to be parallel. If you force this into place, you might end up bringing the panel out or bringing it in. And then when you put the deck, you're probably gonna be able to see a swerve on your deck, and you do not want to do that, okay? So be very careful with that. Okay, now I'm gonna fix something that's been getting on my nerves since I've done it, and that's this gap here. I cut this cleat as if it was for the timber frame methods, which it's not the case. I'm using the filleting method, so I should have cut somewhere from 8 to 10 millimeters from the edge of the plywood, so not to have this this gap here. So because I'm going to put some little bit of wood there. Probably not needed, well, 99% sure it's not needed, but you know me. Same here at the transom, so I want this epoxy in place, and the same on the other side. Fitting the mid seats, preparing the gluing surfaces for the deck, the tank dividers, and those little bits took me roughly 4 hours. A bit longer than I thought it would, but isn't that always the case? Beautiful day again, and I'll be gluing the butt straps on the decks. It's about, well, just before lunchtime, and to see if this dries up enough so I can fit the decks still today, later on in the afternoon. Line up your panels and take advantage of the best side on the plywood, probably the factory cut side, okay, not the other one. See the marks there? That's the straightest edge. That's the one you want to use to line up the panels. While the side deck's dry, we're going to put this deck in place. And because I didn't tape around it, we're going to need to sand this here as well, where it matches the gunnels and this cleat. And now I'll have to sand this area as well to glue in here. Okay, now I'm going to place this here and pre-drill to put about 5 or 6 screws here to make sure the bolt is square, because this piece here is perfectly square. Now this needs to be flush with the bulkhead and flush here as well. Right, these I have from my Goat Island Skiff build. These are just plywood with plastic tape and the drywall screw. Set your driver's clutch to the minimum possible and just give it a go. Okay, before I drilled this and secured it, I did check for level and for twist. And that's still good. So now I'm just gonna do a quick diagonal check. It's still spot on to the millimeter. Okay, now we need to remove this all again and glue it in place for good. And now we're going to wet all the gluing surfaces and that one as well. And don't forget to epoxy these ones as well. I know there will be no water in there, but at least one coat. Here comes the party bags. All glue spread now. That's a big mistake. I assumed this would be the edge, obviously it was not. So I pre-coated this and not the area that's actually gluing. So if my boat ever opens up here, you know why. Okay, time to take care of these ones now. Glue has gone hard. You can just put your fingernail mark in there. Or not. So, time to cut them roughly the size. I need to know where the gluing area is so I can do some sanding there. Now I've got 245 marked here, which is more than the tank, of course, but we will plane this to the line because we will use that line as a guide to see if we need to get the gunnel outwards or inwards when we're screwing the decks. It will make sense a bit later. If you remember, we left the factory cut to the inside. That will align with the tank side. And that needs to be perfect. And you can see here, it's not exactly flush, so I need to push the tank side that way. And for that, I'm gonna put a ruler underneath. Okay. That's flush. Okay, now we need to check how far this edge is from the gunnel here. I'm gonna mark that on our stick. And that's what we're gonna use to adjust the side tab. It needs to go in. Okay, epoxy time. For the forward deck, I mixed 160 grams of epoxy, and this time I mixed 200. Okay, one more deck to go. I want to finish this today. It's going to be a long day. Almost done for today. There's still one thing I want to do before I leave. And that is to move these screws like a quarter of the turn. And then back. See, that was already stuck. And another one. When I was building the Gold Island skiff, I had half a dozen screws that got glued with epoxy, and I actually broke 2 screw heads, which were not very easy to remove. But if you feel that it's too tight, don't force it because it might break. Get a soldering iron, put the tip in there, let it get really warm because epoxy will get soft, and then you can unscrew it. It's on the plans, by the way. Okay, and that's that for today, I think. All hull parts glued in place. Yes! This has become a very, very stiff hull. You couldn't do twist before, now you just can't. It just won't twist at all. Very rigid. Let's just cut these decks to size first, and then we'll see what we're gonna do next. So first I need to see how much is overhanging. that's a good 3 to 4 mil from the gunnel, at least. I don't want to risk cutting the gunnel with the jigsaw. I haven't rounded this off yet because I have ordered a cheap ass router from an online shop. Should be here next week, and then I'll do all the rounds. Put a 4mm round here, all around the boat, here, every single edge. But if you don't have a router, you can just grab a planer, hand planer, and just put a 3mm chamfer and then round it off with sandpaper, I would say. Or if you're not too fussy, you can even do it with this. Here at the bow, I might actually have to do it by hand because the rounding bit with the roller bearing won't work because this is sloped. Okay, so I've worked 13 hours already. I think that's enough for this week. That's more than any other week. I try to keep it between 8 and 10. I'm well over that now, so I'll stop here this week. Next week, I'm gonna turn this thing upside down and I'm gonna glass the hull and prepare it to start painting. Nice boat, guys.